Okay, so the course highlight is the duration is 60 plus days. Why do I say 60 plus days? Because after 60 days, we'll have doubt solving sessions, we'll have mock interviews, and if you need any guidance, then we can have interaction session also. So it's more than 65 days, guys. So this session is more than 65 days. If you know me well, I don't prefer PPTs, I don't prefer and all this. My focus area is practical. I do practicals more, guys. So whatever topics you have seen in my course curriculum, 85 to 90% it is practical, and theoretical wherever it is needed, just an overview diagram and all. So at that time I'll be using theories, and that to the theories, the diagram and everything I'll be creating from scratch in front of you, just to demonstrate how exactly it works, how the infra is created and all. So focus area is practical. The reason why I focus on practical is this is what will help you crack interview. This is what help you if you're already working as a DevOps engineer. This is what help you will move one step further. If you are looking to jump into DevOps, then this practical experience will help you get into DevOps role. Okay, so the focus area is practical. Theory is in just to know information, that is more than enough, guys. You should know how to do things practical, and let me tell you, if you know how to do things practical, you can easily demonstrate that during an interview process. So keep that in mind. Why I'm focusing more on this practical part? The reason is very simple, guys. In this entire course, there are more than 15-20 tools which we will be using. So the technology shift will happen at a very higher pace. You have to be with me when we are doing anything. Make sure to go and practice the same. If you do that, after 60 days, you'll have a confidence, you'll have a different kind of zeal to go with DevOps, start cracking DevOps interviews. Okay, that is what my focus area is. That is the reason we have all live projects. Whatever demonstration I'll be giving, that will be based on what actually we do in the market. That is the reason I am coming from the DevOps field itself. I know how the project works. I know what is the requirement. I know, even I have taken more than 500 interviews, guys. So I know what exactly is the interview requirement. So keeping all this experience of mine, I have created this complete course. Okay, so if you want to take a complete leverage, and if you want to utilize this experience, then make sure to practice whatever I teach. So once you at least do that, and once you practice what I have teach, go and explore other things also. Then come up with a doubt. I'm not telling whenever you have a doubt, just don't come with what I'm teaching. Anything related to DevOps, any other tool, if you have any doubt, come to me. Let's discuss over the call and let's see what exactly would be the right solution. Okay. Weekly assignments and solution feedback. So yeah, this is a practice which we focus. I have a weekly assignments. So once I'm done with the 5 days course, like Monday to Friday is the course. Timing is 7 a.m. Indian Standard. So on the Friday, I'll be giving you the complete week assignment, and that assignment you need to make sure during the weekend try and complete it. Mock interviews, resume preparation, career guidance and assistance, and one-to-one interaction. This is all will be provided. Just get to us, inform Valaxy. They can set up a call with me and we can have a chat on this. Okay, guys. So this is the course highlight. Now let's talk about DevOps. Let me give you a very clear focus point over here. DevOps, who all can do DevOps? Now, many of you will have questions that I have no coding experience. Can I still opt for DevOps? Yes. This course, I'm not denying that we are not doing any coding, guys. That will be a very wrong target to set. We do coding. I do YAML scripting in this. I do ARM temp. We do write ARM template. We do write Terraform templates using HashiCorp language. All these are coding, guys. We do write Kubernetes deployment.yaml, service.yaml, and all this we write. But the difference is I teach YAML from scratch. Whatever we do, we teach. I start from very scratch, explaining you the basic syntax. Then eventually we move on to start writing all the scripts. So even though if you don't have any background of what scripting is and how it is written and all, don't worry. We'll do things from very scratch. That is the reason even in this course I started with Linux. We'll start with basic Linux, understanding basic Linux concept, eventually moving on to cloud. Okay, keep that aside. Let's talk about DevOps. What for being a successful DevOps engineer, what all things you should know. Okay, so the first thing is you need to be a good with operating system. Operating system, mostly Linux guys. I'm not talking about Windows. If to be a successful DevOps engineer, you have to be very good with Linux. Not good, at least you should know how to do package management, uh, how to run commands on Linux and things like that. Why? Many of you will say why? Why Linux? So the answer is very simple. All DevOps tools are native Linux tools. Whether it's Kubernetes, whether it's Ansible, whether it's Docker. Now many of you will say, sir, Docker works on Windows also. I am not denying on that, guys. It works, but it is native Linux tool. Docker was launched first on Linux, then after 4-5 years on Windows. Same goes with Kubernetes. Kubernetes is not in even you can set up on Windows right now. Ansible, it works only on Linux right now. Though you can make changes, installation, and run uh, on Windows machines also, but actual installation will happen on Linux itself. So yeah, so these are the factors, guys. You have to be very good with Linux operating system to be very specific. Cloud services, you have to have good understanding of cloud services, whether it's Azure, GCP, AWS. That's totally fine, guys. You should know how these cloud services works, how you can create your compute and things like that. Because eventually what will happen, the pipelines which you will create, you will be deploying those changes somewhere on cloud. Most of the companies, they use cloud services nowadays. Most of the companies, they have hybrid infrastructure. When I say hybrid, they got their own data centers and they're using cloud as well. So eventually we'll end up setting up the flow on cloud. So when you're working as a DevOps engineer, you will have to define the infrastructure on cloud. So you have to have cloud knowledge. Repository management. Now, I'll give you my personal experience. I've been taking interviews, and when I ask a simple Git question, many of the experienced DevOps engineer they don't know. And when I ask the question why you don't know basic of Gits, so then I get an answer, a very straightforward answer that this is not my responsibility. A developer is managing Git. Why do a developer will manage Git? And agree, the developer is doing a development, he will be using Git a lot. What about you? You are creating pipelines, you are creating all your Kubernetes deployment files and everything. Where exactly will you keep it? You need to keep, these are your source codes, correct? Where will you keep it? Nowadays we are following infra as a code, pipeline as a code methodology where everything should be part of your repository. And if you don't know Git, nowadays Git is the only version control tool which most of us are using. And if you don't know basic of Git, how will you keep all this source code? And forget about all this. Being a DevOps engineer, it's your responsibility to define branching and merging strategy. It is your responsibility to define repository policies. And if you don't know what is cherry picking, then how will you define all this? So guys, make sure, even though whether you go with this session or not, Git knowledge is very important. Whether you're a DevOps engineer, system admin, even if you do a support role, nowadays, even if you're into a support role, you need to know what is Git. The reason is clear. If a developer is giving you a link to just clone it and run the script, that's a support role activity which I'm talking about, then you should know how to clone the repository. If you don't know how to clone, again, You'll have to ask developer, how do I download this source code? Okay, so Git is very important. Infra as a code, pipeline as a code. Nowadays in DevOps, we are focused on creating infrastructure using scripting. That is the reason I got ARM templates and Terraform included in this course. Both are same tools, correct? But ARM is more centric to Microsoft. Terraform is hybrid, guys. So that is the reason. And Terraform, previously in my course, I just had ARM just because during the interview, they asked more questions related to Terraform. Hence, even Terraform is added in this course. Pipeline as a code in Azure DevOps. So the focus area would be Azure DevOps in this, wherein we'll be setting up the entire CI/CD, setting up infrastructure, setting up code coverage, testing, and many things we'll be doing across Azure DevOps. So in Azure DevOps, there are two types of pipelines you can create. It's a classic and YAML based. So my focus will be both classic as well as YAML, but more aligned towards YAML because that is the future, guys. So if you want to be successful, you need to focus on pipeline as a core methodology. Then you need to focus on continuous integration, continuous deployment. So this is a very big process, and most of my course duration, around 20 hours, will be spending on understanding continuous integration and continuous deployment. This is the place where all my three projects, ASP.NET web application and microservice application, Java Maven, SQL database automation, this is all will be done at this point. Then we'll got something called orchestration. Orchestration is very important nowadays. Understanding of Kubernetes, how Kubernetes works. So basically we'll be deploying Kubernetes from scratch. Then we'll focus on AKS, Azure Kubernetes Services. Same goes with containerization, Docker. This is the place where we'll understand Docker. And last but not the least, configuration management, Ansible. This is how we'll focus on how the configuration work and overall. Followed by securities. So overall, this is what we talked about DevOps, but DevOps without security topics, it's incomplete. So we'll be focusing on securities as well. I'll talk about what are the topics such as SonarQube, setting up SonarQube, code coverage, Jacoco, Talisman, Git hooks. All these are security topics. Istio, service mesh, Helm charts. These are all security topics which we'll focus on. Okay. Now, this is what a DevOps engineer should know. Now, if you want to be a successful DevOps engineer in future, guys, these are the topics which you should know. And this course which I have created, this course covers this entire topic in one course. So just imagine the length of course we are talking about. Okay. So how the journey will start, how exactly. So eventually, definitely we'll start from very basic and we'll go to very advanced. This is how the journey will start. We'll start with Linux, understanding the operating system well. Post that, we'll talk about Azure Cloud Services. So even on Azure Cloud Services, guys, keep in mind I'm not teaching cloud administrator. Azure Cloud Services, when we'll talk about security, we'll talk about resiliency, we'll talk about redundancy. How do we secure a cloud? What is NSG? What is ESG? What is private endpoint? What is service endpoints? How do we create service connection? All these are security related topics which we will be doing on cloud. Though I'll be teaching you the topics from very scratch, that's a different story, but the focus area would be security. Then Azure DevOps, there are multiple options in Azure DevOps: Azure Artifact, Azure Repos, work item management, pipelines, test management, etc. Git, and these are the topics which we'll do from scratch: YAML scripting, Terraform, Kubernetes, Ansible, Docker, Maven ARM templates, followed by monitoring tool. So we'll do microservice monitoring, guys. So in this, we'll monitor using Prometheus and Grafana. Okay. So the Kubernetes clusters, then all what we will set up, we'll monitor those using Prometheus and Grafana. And these are the security topics on high level: Talisman, SonarQube, code coverage, Helm chart, Istio service mesh. And these are the security topics which we'll be eventually covering in this entire course. Followed by live projects, guys. As I said, there are 3 live projects which we will work on. ASP.NET web application. So this is the application which we'll create from scratch. Don't worry if you don't know ASP.NET, that's totally fine. Java Maven, and then SQL database automation. Now SQL database automation, this is the project which is added for purpose. In this DevOps world, many companies you will find wherein they are focusing more on front-end development, front-end automation. What about backend? So if you have hands-on experience how a backend gets automated, this is a very added advantage. And this is the point which you will talk more about in the interviews, so that even they should know that, yeah, not just front end, you know how to automate the back end also. So that is the whole purpose why we kept SQL database automation in this course. Then, as I said, mock interviews and resume preparation. So before I go and walk you through the complete course curriculum, guys, I want, if you guys have any questions, doubt, do let me know before we walk through. So this is the course curriculum. It's around 8 pages. That's quite a big course which we're talking about. So if you guys have any questions till now, do let me know. Then, okay, I think people have. Okay, if you want to put things in the chat box, even that is okay, guys. You can put it in the chat box. I'll happy to help you with those answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
Rohit, this is Sanjeev. This is Sanjay Rohit. Yeah, just it's DevOps, Azure DevOps part, it's fine. Coming to the security part, which you in WhatsApp description, Azure DevSecOps, right? You mentioned.
Correct.
So what whatever the discussion you said, it's very minimal. It looks SonarQube, code coverage, Helm chart. Those are it's a part of DevOps only. I observed, but security part it is quite a difference, right? We can, if you want to go for AZ 500 or 900, that course, the exam part, I don't think so. We can if we go through your curriculum, may we will not clear that exam, right? Azure security.
Correct. So we are
That
not talking about in. Yeah, please.
yeah, both are it's a different, right?
Correct. Correct. So we are not talking about infrastructure security over here. We are talking about
Mhm.
pipeline security. So from the DevOps perspective, when we talk about DevSecOps, so we are talking about the using DevOps, whatever automation you have done, how do we secure that? Like pipeline security, in pipeline security, like you're doing a build. Let's take an example. You're doing a ASP.NET build. Now you want to check the build which you did, is it secure? Like whatever modules has been created by the developer, is the modules has been tested. So you will put your unit testing. That unit testing, then again you want to do analysis on that unit testing, that whether we have covered everything or not. Then you will do code analysis on top of it. So these are pipeline securities which we are talking about. And the one which you're talking about, the code certification code, those are infrastructure security, which is you're talking about
It's
how
an
do we.
application level load balancer, application level security and hacking.
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
that's
Agree.
what we high hard about that only. That DevSecOps it belongs to like that one only. But
No,
that's what I was curiosity to know. What the topics you cover. That's what.
yeah, no
Okay.
problem, no problem. So just answering to your question, yeah, is in we don't jump into AZ 500 more in details, but yeah, in the cloud section, when as I said, Azure Cloud section, we focus on the basic security which you talked about, the network virtual network security. We talked about the VM securities. We even do resiliency, like what is availability zone, availability set, what is VMSs, how do we secure that, all these. And from the key vault perspective, from the ACR perspective, and from the storage account, what is service endpoints, private endpoints, what is VNet pairing, and all these are the, again, if you go back to your AZ 500, so you will find all this topic in that. So yeah, my focus area is not just talk about this infra level security or cloud security. Our focus area is DevOps. In DevOps, where all places the focal point, what you see in DevOps, where all places you can put security, that is what our focus would be. Then when we go to cloud, because initially we'll be starting with cloud itself. So in the cloud, from the DevOps perspective, what all security is needed, what all thing needs to be secured in cloud, even that will be covered in this course, entire course. Very good question. Okay. Anyone else, guys? Okay. So let me talk about the course.
Rohit Karim here, sorry to you. Like, is there any prerequisites to proceed further with this course? Like, how it is like, you need to already know about DevOps, and you are going to explain like how to implement it in Azure, right? Like, it will cover DevOps as well.
Okay, very good question. So yeah, I think many of others will have the same question. So the prerequisite is none. The reason I say none, because we spend time explaining things from scratch. So let me talk about the target audience. Who will be the target audience for this course? First, anyone who wants to switch to DevOps. So this is the course for them. Anyone has no experience into DevOps and want to jump into DevOps, or anyone who is already experienced into DevOps and want to learn more. So basically, everyone and anyone can join this course. The reason is simple. If you see the one which I have highlighted, we go very basic, guys. When I talk about any topics, I talk about from very scratch. When I talk about Linux, I don't jump on directly explaining what is systemd, what is fstab. We start from very basic commands. How do we create a directory? How do we do things? Same goes with if I talk about any other topic. Even though I said on the cloud we'll focus on security, but no, I'll be creating the storage account first, a very simple storage account, creating a blob, uploading a file. From there, then we'll take it to further. How do we create an endpoint? How do we connect to this storage account from a particular VM and all? Then the advanced topic. So I'll start from very basics, starting from signing into the portal, creating a simple VNet, then start adding VMs to it. That is what my focus area. Even in DevOps, we'll start with the very simple pipelines, only focusing how the build happens and things like that. And even the YAML, when you go and see in the YAML, we start YAML for very basic. It's somewhere over here. YAML, understanding the syntax of YAML, how a simple line of YAML is written. That is how we start. So the that is the reason I say this is for everyone and anyone. Okay, because even though if you have no idea where you are, which world you are right now in, but with the way we teach from very scratch to the very advanced, you will have complete focus on what we are doing. The only thing is, the people who have no familiarity with DevOps, make sure to practice more. The reason is very straightforward, guys. There's so many tools we talked about. What we talked about, there are so many tools, correct? There are so many tools and parameters what we're talking about. So you have to, because each after 3-4 session the tools will change. So you have to keep your 100%, be more attentive and practice more. If people already working as a DevOps engineer, they will not have that difficulty because they're already working. The only thing is the advanced topics and all, they need to practice to move further. But the people who are not part of DevOps, they are starting with DevOps, or they are working with some other lab. They were developer, testers, and any other part of IT industry they are working, and they are moving into DevOps. For them, you guys have to practice more. You guys have to come up with questions, and whatever doubts you have, make sure ask then and there. Don't keep it for that I'll ask tomorrow. I have not practiced and things like that. So if you're spending time, you're spending your money, guys, make sure give your 100%. Then only after 3 months down the line, you will have a confidence to at least go and crack one interview out of five. I can assure you that. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Kareem. I think Kareem has
Yeah, yeah.
asked that.
Yes, yeah. Uh, got it. Thank you.
No problem. So while others are thinking about the questions, guys, let me just give you a quick walkthrough of this course. Okay, starting with Linux, these are the cloud services. There are many cloud services. It's not even so, guys. Whatever course curriculum you have seen, it's there, but my course is completely whatever I mention. I cover more than this, guys. So whatever I feel, this is the best topic you guys should know. Like for example, the VNet pairing is not written in this course curriculum. I cover those. If you see the private endpoint, service endpoint is not even written in this course, I do cover, because I know that is very important from the interview perspective. So this is just a template. Go through it. All these topics, whatever is written in this template, it's 101% I'll be covering. Plus on top of it, the things which is not even written, I definitely cover those also. Okay, I think there's a question in the chat.
Hello, hi. Uh,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask because there are some job descriptions I have seen, and
Mm-hmm.
they mentioned Python scripting because I remember you mentioned it. There will be a lot of coding, but do you think there will be any Python for this kind of thing, or there's a reason why it's not there?
Okay, so Python,
Uh,
yeah. So you're saying about in the job description you see
yeah,
Python.
yeah. Maybe it's a desired thing that they need. Is it just it's not
Okay.
needed, or
Okay, so let me talk about job description. Those job description are written by HR, non-technical guys. So
Mhm.
you'll not even do anything in Python when you start working as a DevOps engineer. But there are companies they use Python scripting for automation. So guys, focus area is first be familiar what is DevOps, the DevOps topic, DevSecOps. Be very familiar, get good experience, and let me tell you, if you get time after this, once you're very familiar, start working in this field. If you get time, please have some hands-on experience of some scripting knowledge. Not just, I'm not saying Python, I'm not endorsing Python right now. Python is one option, cell scripting would be other option, power scripting will be other option. So have some hands-on experience. That will be an added advantage, because eventually what we are doing, we are automating things, correct? We'll have to automate things. You will be the go-to guy. In reality, you will be the go-to guy in companies. Anything they want to do, whether it's your responsibility or not, they will reach out to you asking, dude, this is what I do. We need to automate. So if you have experience with Python and all, so you can do those things very easily. So yeah, once you're very familiar with DevOps and all, keep in back of your mind that this is something you need to do more to move further, and forget about job description. Those are written by non-tech guys, and when you go and take interview, they will not even ask questions on those part. But yeah, from my experience, because I'm a Python developer also, guys, so from my experience I'm telling you, once you move and have good experience in DevOps world, try learning other scripting language. I'm not endorsing Python again. Any scripting language will be very handy to automate things. Okay, hopefully that answers your question.
no, thank you, sir.
Very good, guys. I think this course curriculum is shared with you. If you know, if not, please reach out to Valaxy team. The information is given in the chat, and they will share this again with you, because I don't want to go one at a time. The course curriculum is divided into OS. The way I have showed you the PPT, this is how the course curriculum is divided. OS, then your cloud services, then your DevOps. DevOps again from very scratch, understanding what is DevOps notion, not just a development and operation team coming together. No, collaborating. No, that's one line statement. If you give that statement in an interview, I'll not take it. As simple as that. Okay, so you need to have very good understanding of DevOps. You need to know how this DevOps started, understanding different DevOps methodology, how to manage work item using Agile and all. Nowadays, whether you're working in DevOps or not, if you're working in IT industry, you'll be managing your work item using Agile and Scrum. So you need to know what is Agile, what is Scrum, and how do we manage item using Agile and Scrum. Then so if you see in between, we got the security topics also. So this security is related to DevOps, guys. Again, I'm clearing things. So if you see how Talisman is again a tool where, like, in Git, we make, sometimes we push security codes, access keys and all, which is a security breach. How do we stop developers by doing this? By installing pre-hooks, post-hooks, which will go and scan. There are no sensitive information which is getting pushed into the cloud, because there are use cases in the market that because of sensitive access keys, like there's a very classic use case uh, which I'll go walk you through when we go reach to this topic, that one of the developer has by mistakenly pushed access key into GitHub repository, and there was a hacker who was continuously checking all the GitHub repository and found the access key. And with the access key, he was able to launch EC2 instance on AWS Cloud. And using that EC2 instance, he was doing Bitcoin mining. And that guy got around 5 lakhs of bill just because there was a 8 hours Bitcoin mining done on AWS. Such things needs to be avoided. This is a clear security breach. Then that is, we'll see how exactly we can do it with Talisman. Okay. Then service connection, there are many ARM templates, Ansible, how to write playbooks, what is inventory files, imperative commands. Then this is YAML. Overview of data serialization language, YAML basic syntax, data types in YAML, formats and indentation in YAML. So this is how basically we'll focus on basic thing. Then once we're done with YAML, once you know what is YAML, then we'll start with build pipelines. This is the first project, ASP.NET Web Application. Second project, and third project. And in this, while we're doing the build, in this we'll have your code coverage, we'll have your SonarQube integration, we'll have all this build security related topic, we'll have SAS, static application testing, all this will do it over here. Then we'll have your release pipeline. So whatever project you have built over here, using this release pipeline, this project will be deployed. Now, I deploy things not just at one location, guys. To give you a complete 360 view how a microservice deployment works, the first, I'll be deploying things on Azure Web App. Second, the same application will be deployed on Docker containers. Third, the same application will be created as an image and will be pushed into ACR, that's a container registry. Fourth, the same application will be deployed onto Kubernetes cluster. Why are we deploying things in multiple sources? Just to give you a complete 360 view how microservice deployment works. Okay, we are deploying on Azure Web App, a simple web app, then Docker, then pushing into ACR, then the Kubernetes. Same custom application will be pushed to multiple sources. Just to give you a complete glimpse how in reality, when you start working in real time, you're working on these tools, how exactly things gets automated. Because if I directly teach you using a pipeline that how this application will be pushed into AKS, then forget about the basic, guys. You will not even understand how at the first place how this was built, how the image was created, what is Docker compose file, what is a Docker file, how this was pushed into ACI. You'll not even come to know. I'll just quickly create Docker files and have your YAML created, and within 1 hour of session the things will be done. No, We are spending around 7-8 hours just to understand this flow. So if you go from this basic, then eventually, and if you practice it by yourself, let me tell you any scenario. Now, many of you say, okay, you have not included Golang, you're not included Python. How do I build a Python? No, you don't need. If you know how to build Java, you can easily build Angular, React, and all this. There are so many languages in the world. If you know .NET, and if you know how this build works, you can go and easily Google and take out the steps for Golang and start building it within 5-10 minutes. Okay, so if you know how to build and how to release, you can do any sort of language, guys. Again, many people will ask, okay, this is Azure DevOps, what about Jenkins? Guys, these are tools. There are so many tools in the market. If your basic is clear, let me tell you, if you know how to build, does the Java build will change when you move on to Jenkins? No, the Java build will remain same. You will be using Maven plugin over there. You will be using all the Maven command, even in Jenkins. It's the same thing. What exactly is the difference is the platform. Over here, you're doing it in Azure DevOps. There, you'll be doing it in Jenkins. The only difference, the difficulty you will find, how do we navigate through Jenkins? Yeah, by 1 or 2 days of training on YouTube, free training, you can know. But the concept remains. First, you need to know the concept. You need to know how this Java will be built. What are the steps needed? What is Maven? How this package management happens through Maven. If you know this concept well, forget about Jenkins, forget about Azure DevOps. You can build it on Octopus also. You can build it on GitLab also. So you need to this. Each day there is a new tool in DevOps which is coming in, which is very related to what existing tool you have right now. If you know the concept well, how things works, what is the core technology you should know. If you know it well, you can work on any given tool. Let me take it this way. Let's give you a simple example of cloud services. In AWS, we call it as virtual network. In Azure, we call it as VNet. Is it different? No. The both of what they are providing, they are providing a dedicated network environment to you. The naming is different. They have the same VNet pairing in Azure. In AWS, we got VPC pairing. Is it different? The naming convention is different, but what is the working they do? Connecting to two VPC, communication between two VPC. That is what VPC pairing is all about. Same goes with Azure VNet pairing. Two VNet if you want to pair it. So it's the same concept. What exactly is different? The naming. So point is, and this is for everyone, guys. In DevOps, many people get very overwhelmed. Oh, there are so many tools. I don't know this. I don't know that. No, focus. Focus on one tool at a time. If you know one tool, you can easily learn the similar tool very easily. Even if any companies where you go, and if they are using the other tool, you can easily relate. You can tell, I have already done this with my Azure DevOps. I know how a Java application works, how the build works, how the artifact will be created, what is jar file, what is a war file, all this, how it gets created, and how this can be easily deployed on a Kubernetes platform. I know it very well. And if the person, the opposite person, the interviewer is a bit of experience, and if he knows well, then he know that this person can easily work on Jenkins also. And if he's a dumb or any management guy who knows nothing about DevOps, then they will just stick with, okay, what Google questions of Jenkins. Okay, so such companies, avoid such companies, working with such companies where they even don't know the similarity and the differences. Okay, okay, guys, enough of Gyan. Let's move on. Again, code coverage, as I said, we'll focus on Jacoco over here. I'll be including code coverage with Java Maven project, SonarQube, Slack. Why exactly Slack? Because there is a topic in Azure DevOps Service Connection, and how do we send notification on Slack? So we'll be integrating Slack with my Azure DevOps. Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes, and all. So just go through this course curriculum, guys. Let me know if you want to have something added to it. It's already enough. Whatever I think is will take you to places. Those topics are already added in this course. If you find anything else is missing, please do let me know. We'll try and include those topics as well. But let me give you a guarantee, if you know all these topics well, you can easily start learning by yourself, because after that you'll get a track what you need to do, what is your focus area, where do you go, what extra things you need to learn, and things like that. In DevOps, learning will never stop, guys. Just keep that in mind. It's not just okay, I had a three months course, I started working, I got a good job, I'm done. No. If you have this mentality, within a year you will be thrown out of that job and you will be out of job. You have to keep practice, and I'm becoming very blunt because I've seen people struggling, guys. That is the reason I have written many blogs explaining what needs to be done, how needs to be done. But still I feel there is a mismatch. You cannot be comfortable in your current position. Challenge yourself, even though if your work is not challenging. Many of you say, no, my work is not challenging, I'm doing very redundant work, it's just copying the script, running it on the server, that is what I'm doing. It's okay, you cannot leave your job and sit at home, correct? Train yourself, get yourself acquainted, challenge yourself, then look for a switch. It's not that leave your job then start looking. No, that's a very wrong choice. Who will be paying for your house rent, electricity, all your expenses? Who will be paying? Stick with the job, get yourself trained. Once you're trained, switch. That should be a practice. Be in a company for 2 years, 3 years, switch. When you start switching, then you'll get experience of multiple projects. Then you will be more confident with all these tools. But you have to keep training yourself daily, at least 1 hour of time you have to train yourself. Okay, so that's it from me today, guys. If you have questions, I'm open to questions. We have 10 minutes left. Let me
Yeah,
know if
hi
you
Rohit,
guys
Sandeep
have
here.
questions. Yes, tell me please.
Yeah, so I believe like being a DevOps engineer, so we would be working on more on platform. Nowadays, DevOps and the platform teams are same in most of the companies, and there will be a separate DevOps team if it is a bigger companies. So in that case, so if we are working on Azure platform team as a DevOps engineer, so, how much the PowerShell and the Windows knowledge is required? Because, to my knowledge, most of the Azure uh, cloud-related workloads runs on the Windows. So, can you answer about this one?
Okay, very good question. Platform is very important nowadays, guys. As I said, a DevOps engineer is not just the work profile has changed of a DevOps engineer. A DevOps engineer needs to know everything, as I said earlier. So yeah, in if you talk about MNCs, the role is very different, guys. The DevOps engineer is very separate team. They focus on only DevOps core capabilities task. They very rarely go and touch your infrastructure. If you talk about a mid-scale company or a startup or a small company, yeah. So this statement is very true that a DevOps engineer needs to work on cloud platforms also. But this about Windows and PowerShell, this depends upon what type of project you're working. Okay, if you're working on a project wherein they have Windows servers and they got everything hosted on Windows, so yeah, you may have to have a bit of experience of Windows. The Windows is, as compared to Linux, Windows is not that difficult, because in Windows you get GUI, and by doing some Google you will definitely find your solution. But if someone has not worked on Linux or black screen, then at that point of time it becomes difficult for them at least go and check things on Linux. But keeping that in mind, if you are in such projects wherein it's very native to Windows and they are using cloud platform just for Windows machine and all, yeah, you may have to have a bit of understanding what is IIS, how the services in Windows work. So these are basic things I'm talking about. You will not go and set up AD on Windows and things like that. You will not do it. And let me tell you, you will not find it difficult. It will be a learning curve for you. You just have to move here and there, and you need to find your solution in that cases. But if it's a Windows native application, then mostly it will be ASP.NET, and mostly the web server which they would be using would be IIS. This is 85%. This is what they will be using over there. Very rarely you will find
Uh,
Nginx. Yeah, tell me.
yeah. So why I'm asking this question is I have visibility on AWS and GCP
Mm-hmm.
that it most of the workloads will be on Linux. But
Mm-hmm.
when I talk to few people, what I heard is that Azure, uh, most of the Windows servers, most of them are will be the Windows servers. So that is where I am getting as a progressing into the Azure. So that is where I have a doubt. Like if it is
No.
a Windows server, I already know Linux, so that is easy for me to switch between the clouds. But in the multi-cloud environment nowadays, I mainly focusing on the PowerShell because we don't use the GUI day to day. Because if we
Correct.
want to automate or do anything, it should be the PowerShell.
PowerShell
So
or CI.
that is where.
Yeah, Sandeep, you're right, but this notion is incorrect that if Azure, then it's Windows. No. Your company, your project, so I don't know whom you have spoken. Why this notion is, I'll tell you. This notion is just because uh, everyone who is already using Windows, that becomes very easy for them to migrate to Azure Cloud, because Azure is Microsoft native cloud platform, and it has a great support for Windows servers. If you're using your application on Windows, which is on your data center, local data center, and you want to migrate to cloud, then all those goes to Azure Cloud. They will definitely not go with AWS. The reason is simple, your licensing and many things, so they go to cloud. But even nowadays, even ASP.NET, which was Windows native application, they came up with ASP Core, ASP.NET Core, which can be deployed on Linux also. So yeah, somewhat this is right that on Azure, most of the legacy application you will find it on Windows, but all your new application, these are all mostly Linux based. Because if you want to have a microservice application, that will be 90% Linux based. If you want to deploy it on Kubernetes, and if you want to leverage orchestration, containerization, and all this, the 90% it will be all your new application will be on Linux itself. But yeah, keeping that in mind, if you are using Windows and if you want to portal, very rarely, as you said earlier, very rarely, either you'll be using ARM, or you'll be using PowerShell, or you'll be using CLI and APIs, and all these options you'll be using to create, delete, manage services on cloud. Okay, but yeah, portal and all will be used mostly by the cloud administrators for managing the things directly from the portal. Yeah. So yeah, again, answering to your
Yeah.
question, it's again different from project to project. Your project may have Windows Server, but yeah, don't run from Windows, guys. The window is there. You will be using Windows day in, day out. So Windows is not that difficult. That is what I'm trying to explain. It's very simple tool, not
Okay.
that
Fine.
difficult. Anyone else,
So
guys?
one
Any
more
other
question.
question?
Uh,
Yeah, tell
one more
me.
question. It's related to ARM and Terraform.
Yeah.
So how much percentage the Terraform will be used and ARM will be used in real times, if I compare both?
Okay. Very good question. Like if you're working for MNC, okay, I'm targeting MNC right now. If you're working for MNC, and if a MNC is using Azure, okay, let me tell you, they will not go with Terraform. Why? MNC will have some sort of SLA agreement signed with Microsoft. MNC will not go with a third party tool. They will prefer using ARM, which is a proprietary tool of Microsoft, and they will stick with ARM for all all their infrastructure need. But if the same company is hybrid, they got Azure, they got AWS, they got their own local data center, then they have to come to Terraform. Because if you're writing ARM that is very native to Microsoft and Azure, it will not work on AWS. then they will come to Terraform. Now, what percentage? Okay, this is very difficult. What percentage? It's up to what project. Like suppose you are working on a project wherein you're just working on creating infrastructure and managing infrastructure using templates. Then 100% you're working on those tools, correct? But if you're working as a core
Yeah.
DevOps engineer, wherein your responsibility is setting up entire thing, the entire infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I'm not talking about cloud infrastructure. I'm talking about your DevOps infrastructure, starting with your branching strategy, build strategy, release strategy, infra creation strategy. All this, you are the one who is doing it. Then 20% of your tasks will be taken care by ARM and Terraform, wherein you'll be writing your template to deploy your code on particular resources. Like suppose you're writing template to create Azure web app. Okay, so you're writing a template and eventually you'll be using the template so that your infra is created and then your changes are deployed. So 20% over there. But again, up to the project where you're working, what is the source you're working, what type of client you're working. So this thing may differ. So you cannot hard code numbers to it that yeah 10%, 20%. No, this knowledge is just understand this. This knowledge is important, and if you have that knowledge, whether you're working 100% or you're working in 10%, that doesn't matter. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
See, question from Sky: why Azure DevOps? Why not AWS DevOps? Which one is comparatively best now and future? Thanks. Okay, very good question, Sky. This is I get mostly. Okay, there is no comparison between these tools, guys. Okay, Azure DevOps, if you talk about Azure DevOps, it's a big umbrella. You get everything inside it, whether work item management, pipeline management, source code management, artifact management, everything you get it, and very user friendly, very easy to use. Okay, and if you're deploying things on cloud, Azure Cloud, and if you are using all this Windows native and things like that, AKS and all, definitely not go with AWS. You will stick with Azure DevOps. On the other hand, on the other side, same goes with AWS also. If you have your things on AWS mostly, then you will prefer AWS DevOps. Again, up to projects, what projects you're working. And if you do a trend check, I'm not telling from my side, if you go and do a Google trend check, last 3 to 4 years, Azure DevOps has taken everyone behind. The reason is simple, just because after 2019 when this Azure DevOps came in picture, then since then till now, this 3 4 years of time, Azure DevOps has taken everyone behind because they are giving everything by just one click. You have everything available, just get your codes, get your things and put it and start building it. Okay, now people are following Azure DevOps trend nowadays. Again, I'm not distinguishing between any tool. Both the tools are very good. If you go on my channel, you'll find courses on Azure DevOps and AWS DevOps both. Okay. So no, I'm not distinguishing. Both are very good tool, but depending what project you're working, again, the same thing which I said earlier. If you know the basics well, you know how to build, how to release, what tool you're using doesn't matter. If you know it well, the flow, you know the flow, that this is how the build will happen, this is how the release will happen. You put it on AWS or put it on Azure or put it on Jenkins, put it on Octopus, wherever you want to put it, it works the same way. The steps will not change. Here and there, the options may change, the naming convention may change, but yeah, what is the core that will remain the same. Okay. Yeah, hopefully Sky that answers your question. Mike has a question. I understand the course starting on Monday. Please, when will be the last date for the payment for this course? Please, Mike, reach out to DevOps, sorry, not DevOps team, Valaxy team. This is their information. The contact number and everything is given right over here. Just copy this contact number and reach out to them, and they will help you out with this. Okay. Yeah, guys. Questions? Still, we have time. No, it's already 8:05. Okay. Anyone has questions,
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. Hi, Rohit.
Tell me, Naveen.
Yeah, need any certification to get a job, like Azure or else like anything? Terraform or anything.
Very good. Guys, certification, if you ask me, what do I prefer when I take interview? Do I even look at the certification section? Let me tell you, I don't even look at it. Those certification are for your resume to get selected. As simple as that. I've seen people who are AZ 500, AZ 204, AZ 300, AZ 400. They don't know basic question. If I ask basic question, they don't even know that. Okay, I know how this Microsoft certification works and this Terraform MCQs works. Okay, if you have experience, easily you can crack this certification exam. Let me tell you, this is not difficult. Like, you're not cracking a CKA wherein practically you're setting up things. You're not cracking RSCE that you're setting up the servers and doing things. If that kind of certification you do, that is, you need to spend 6 months of time learning that tool, then you can go and crack those certification. But yeah, certification, if you ask me, answering to your question, it's an entry point for you. When you see the job description, if you are this certified, then this, and if you put all those certification on your resume, it will make your resume look very good, and you will get the interview call. But what if you don't have experience, even though you have somehow you have passed the certification, but you don't know, you don't have the knowledge? Definitely the person who is taking technical round, he'll reject you, even though if you have 10 certifications. And if you don't have 10 certification, 2 certification, and if you know everything well, you have technical expertise, then that doesn't matter. But yeah, answering to your question, entry point, if you get opportunity, guys, if you have knowledge and things, when after learning everything, if you get opportunity, if you can spend extra money on completing this certification, please do, because the resume selection and everything is done by HR, and they have no clue what they are doing, and they will even reject a very good resume who has all the experience in the world, but the only thing is it doesn't have certification. Okay, so if you have certification, it's like doing what ladies do, makeup on your resume. Okay, so if you get opportunity, never miss on certification. Have certification, but make sure you have experience of that tool. Certification just for namesake, it's a waste of time and money. Do certification when you have expertise with that tool, then complete the certification so that you can showcase to other. Because the first thing, when you go for an interview, the first thing is your resume which goes. And if your resume will have all the certification, that will, out of 100, 70% your resume will get selected. So for that purpose, do certification. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, yes. Will you provide any support for the certification?
This course is basically, you can easily crack Azure DevOps certification after this course. But if you need assistance, see, I am focusing more on practical stuff. For cracking this MCQ certification, you need to go through the white papers also. So yeah, I'll help you with the guide. Go through the white papers, read through the white paper, and after that, easily you can crack this certification. Don't worry. Okay, Anwar is, are you going to cover Dev checkout tools in detail?
Yeah.
It's CI/CD tool pipeline. Yes, this will be covered, Anwar. We are spending more than 20 hours, 20, 30 hours just to Azure DevOps. So my half course is Azure DevOps, and this will be covered in very details. I have confusion about time zone. Are you guys started now? No, we are ending right now. So which time zone you are in? We follow 7 a.m. IST. If you are in EST and all, then you may have to. It's 9:30 right now in EST. So we follow 7 a.m. IST just to avoid confusion. Okay. Do we need to learn any coding? This Sai we have already answered. You should learn once you have experience with DevOps and all. When you get opportunity, you should learn. For this particular course, don't worry, I am doing coding from scratch. We'll be using YAML, ARM, Terraform, and all this will be done from scratch. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, I think someone was asking the question in between. Yeah.
Yes,
Tell me.
like AWS or Azure actually, wherein currently like industry Means like what are the future opportunities like compared to AWS or Azure or GCP, any cloud?
Future in cloud you're talking about?
Yeah, future like most of the maybe as per my perspective, like AWS, if at all, if we work with AWS, we need to have some external plugins and some external integrations are required when to work with like real-time projects. But here into the Azure, like most of the them will be in-house, and we will get all them support from the Microsoft like Azure. So means like and GCP nowadays is like GCP is getting more popular. So, like, which cloud is going to have good opportunities in the future?
So now if you go back a bit, around 10 years back in the year 2007, AWS came in and it was very popular at that time. For like 5 years, 6 years, AWS was like there was no one who was even near to AWS. Then in the year 2013, Azure was there. In the year 2010, it came in, but it was not that famous. 2013, Azure came up with a new change. They came up with ARM, Resource Group, and all. Now, from 2013, Azure has taken over, and till now, when that time the market ratio was around 8%, 80% AWS, and around 10% hardly Azure and other cloud like Blue Ocean and all. Now, if you see the trend, it has completely switched. Still, AWS is somewhere around 40, but Azure has not lacking behind. It is around 30, 35. Now, the GCP and all came in. Now, why this GCP is coming in? Because of costing. Now, every cloud provider has a different way of costing. AWS is expensive. Then now the next expensive is Azure, and the least expensive nowadays is GCP, because GCP is still growing right now. Correct? It is giving it is giving a good offer to the companies that yeah, if you use this is the compute charges and all. They are giving a very discounted price. Let me tell you, because I do infrastructure costing also, so I know they are providing very discounted price right now. Hence, you see there's a spike in GCP. Now you don't have to be platform dependent. There will be a chance that down the line after 2 years, your focus area would be completely GCP. You'll start building a pipeline keeping GCP in mind. So you don't have to be platform dependent. First thing. Second, plugins and all is unlike AWS, as you said, Azure has everything in it. It has all the plugins in the world you want. You want big data solution, data science, Azure, DevOps, infrastructure, everything it has. Okay. Same goes with AWS also. AWS also EMR and all. Plugins, both based on your requirement, you'll be using different sort of plugins. Whether it is AWS, whether it's Azure, you'll be using it, guys. You'll be dependent on third-party plugins. Okay. Now, answering to your question, in near future, who will be up, who will be down? That is no one can predict. In next 5 years, I can guarantee you one thing: DevOps is going nowhere. I can guarantee you that DevOps will go leave further. It will not come behind. It will go move further. That every Tom Dick company nowadays want a DevOps engineer. They know nothing about DevOps. Still, they are using DevOps tools. Haphazardly, they are using it, which is very incorrect. But every company will require a DevOps engineer if they want to be in the market, if they want to time the market, if they want to make the automation fast. DevOps is going nowhere. That is the reason DevOps engineers at this point of time getting paid more than a developer. DevOps role is not simple, guys. Keep that in mind. It's not that you just learn one or two and you become a DevOps engineer. With experience, with all these tools experience, you grow eventually. And when you grow, you know what you're doing right now. And DevOps role is not stimulated just to create, build, and release pipeline. After DevOps engineer, you'll be a senior DevOps engineer, solution architect. You'll be designing the complete application solution by yourself. This is how the flow should be. Then you'll be the principal architect. Okay, that is how eventually this DevOps role will grow. And platform and all, this will come and go, guys. You don't have to be dependent. There could be a chance that tomorrow AWS will shut. You cannot be dependent on AWS or Azure. This will come based on company's requirement, based on costing, they will switch. As simple as that. They will switch from one cloud to other cloud. You have to be flexible. Keep that in mind. But this profile of DevOps is not going anywhere till 2030. Keep that in mind. Whether the AI comes in, ML comes in, chat CPT comes in, whatever comes in the world, this profile will not go. Okay, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah,
No,
thanks.
no problem. Abhishek, CV, how do we prove that we have experience without working for companies in DevOps securities? Very good question. I was expecting this. Okay, how do you prove? You prove it with experience, correct? You prove it with experience. If you have experience, you can put it in a CV. But many cases, like I see many people over here, wherein uh, they don't have experience and they want to come into DevOps. Very good. So in such cases, that is the reason the practical, which I said earlier, the practical, which I said earlier, that most of my things will be practical. 85 to 95% practical things which I do. That practical needs to be exactly copy pasted by you guys, because the practical which I will do, that is from my live project experience. I'll be doing, keeping the actual project in mind. I'll doing the practicals. Okay. Now, if you practice the same and if you give your 101% doing all those, guys, easily you can put those practical experience inside your CV. And once you put those, you can easily demonstrate that experience in an interview. When I say, when I give you complete step by step how exactly a Java application is built, and when you practice the same once or twice, that gets uh, inherent in your mind. And when interview will ask, give me a complete flow how a Java application, micro application will be built. You just go and whatever you have practiced, you just have to talk about that. Once you talk about that, that will suffice your experience. So by doing that way, you will be putting things in your resume. It's not just by just what I'm teaching and just seeing my practical, you'll crack an interview. No, guys, remove that from your mind. Okay, completely remove that from your mind. Okay, again, Sam, difference between DevOps and SRE, site reliability engineers. Okay, so difference, DevOps and SRE, kind of, they, what do I say, share the same notion. Site reliability manager are like specialized in building and maintaining reliable systems. These are two different naming convention and they do very similar role. But site reliability engineer has more responsibility, wherein he has to manage the infrastructure also. So this is a new word in the market, guys. DevOps, when you say DevOps, they are focused more on DevOps capabilities, less on infra. But when you say site reliability engineer, then they will give you everything to do. Okay, they will ask you to do everything, in short. So like building services for DevOps, IT ops, even the IT operation work will be given to site reliability operator, customer support. So when you're going with any job description and when they mention SRE, make sure to ask the HR, what is my core responsibility? Well, there is a great chance that they may end up giving you trash work, garbage work, and which will waste your experience. Because with DevOps, if the DevOps is mentioned, you're very sure what you're doing. And if they mention SRE, this is very smartly they do, guys. Don't fall into trap of this SRE. When you're going for such roles, make sure to ask what exactly will be my core responsibilities. In the interview, make sure, because they will let you do everything. They will say, yeah, you'll be a development team, monitoring, troubleshooting, network, infra, operation, business side, and all, everything they will give you. But ask, what is my top 4 priorities in my job? See whether it is relevant to your current profile. If it's not relevant, there is a great chance that they will ask you to handle infra and all this garbage monitoring work and all, which usually will done by the L1, L2 team, will be given to you. No. DevOps responsibility is complete the project, move on to the other project. That is how you will learn. You're not there to do operational work. You're not for support. If you want to learn as a DevOps engineer, be a part of a project, build that project from scratch, train others, hand over the project to the operational team, move on to the next project. That is how you will learn in DevOps. Hopefully that answers your question, Sam. Okay, guys, it's been 8:20 now. If anyone has any questions, last 5 minutes, please do let me know, or we can wind up the call for today, and we'll see you on Monday. No questions? Okay, perfect, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Hope to see you all on Monday, 7 a.m. And we'll start with basic cloud topic first. And before I go, guys, please sign in to Azure portal. You do, if you are already signed in, then I think your free tier has already expired. You can opt out for pay as you go. We'll be using very minimum, whatever services we'll be using, that will be very minimum. Very hardly will get charged $1 or $2. But I prefer you guys to use sign in as a free tier. This is a documentation which will be shared across with you guys. This will help you sign into and creating subscription on Azure Cloud. Okay, this documentation I'll share with everyone. Please sign into Azure Cloud and make sure you have a active account, whether it's a free tier or whether it's a pay as you go, anything would be okay. Okay, I'll share it with the team and they will eventually share it with you guys. Okay, thank you very much, guys. See you on Monday. Bye bye.